The new generation of consoles is here, and my excitement is bursting at the seams for a modest handful of launch titles. But the future is shining bright, my friends, overwhelmingly so in 2021, in comparison to the relatively lackluster 2014 lineup that followed the PS4 and Xbox One release. In fact, my hype train is chugging along hard enough to not only share my top 10 most anticipated games of the coming generation, but a quick-fire top 10 of runner-ups to keep your eye on. You must be thinking, whoa there, D-Mod, I wasn't ready for an impromptu top 20. I'm gonna need a snack. Fortunately, I've got you covered thanks to today's sponsor, Postmates. If your stomach is rumbling for something other than the next generation of games, Postmates has you covered with lightning fast food delivery to your doorstep. Since the great indoor hibernation of 2020 began, I've been making an effort to support local restaurants and my growing waistline through plenty of delivery orders. To help you do the same, Postmates is hooking us up with $150 in delivery credit for your first 14 days if you're a new customer. Signing up is a fantastic way to support the channel, your local businesses, and satiate your appetite at the same time. Download the Postmates app and use the code DMOD150 for a boatload of free deliveries. Big thanks to Postmates for sponsoring today's video, and thank you for listening. Without further ado, let's take a quick bite out of the runner-ups for my most anticipated next-gen games. Number 20, Astro's Playroom. You might think me crazy for thirsting over a glorified tech demo, but if there's a single piece of next-gen hardware I'm most excited to try, it's the DualSense controller. I'm a huge fan of the DualShock 4. Early feedback has been unanimously high for the DualSense's haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, and gyro control. Though Astro's Playroom will surely be an afterthought by generation's end, these free pack-in treats are almost always an introductory pleasure. Number 19, Deathloop. Playing as an assassin tasked with taking down targets in a Groundhog Day style loop where you maintain memories that the NPCs do not, allowing you to perfect level runs with zany powers and progressive skill marked with the unique optional twist of an opposing player hunting you down is a very unique gameplay loop I can't wait to dive into. Number 18, Scarlett Nexus. Want more Code Vein? Me too. This title promises more anime hack and slash goodness with the hope of improved design over its spiritual predecessor. Number 17, Bayonetta 3. If you want to get more technical with pummeling your foes, you're likely to fall head over heels for Devil May Cry's bewitched cousin. Count on me taking the plunge into the bodacious trilogy once this game finally sees the light of day. Number 16, Pokemon Snap for Switch. Yeah, laugh at me all you like. I have a ton of fond memories of the N64 original, finding ways to take secret snapshots, exploring various locales, and pelting Pokemon with apples to get the sickest shots of their dazed corpses. After all, this is categorized as a rail shooter. Terrifying imagery notwithstanding, though I may be less of a Pokemaniac these days, I can't wait to take some shots in a modernized Poketographer's adventure. Number 15, Hogwarts Legacy. I like Harry Potter, and other than classic garbage on the PlayStation 1, this popular franchise is devoid of competent gaming representation. The closest would be the LEGO games, which suffer from the LEGO problem. Once you've played one LEGO game, you've played every LEGO game. At least it's better than the Deathly Hallows cover shooter they made with automatic spellfire like it's Gears of Wand. Love it or hate it, fans of the franchise have dreamed for a game with Hogwarts ambition, a hopeful legacy I'm happy to see WB strive for. Number 14, Gotham Knights. I adore the Arkham games, and I love Batman, but it is cool to see others get the spotlight. I also drastically prefer cooperative to competitive multiplayer experiences. I find working toward a goal together rather than going against friends to be more fun. Doing that in Gotham as the Bat B team could be excellent. I'm just wary that with leveled enemies, this could be another live service pitch, but I'll remain optimistic until we see more. Number 13, whatever the hell Kojima is working on. Despite its polarizing reception, Death Stranding was a success that showed Kojima still has creativity in droves, even if he has trouble reining it in to perfect direction and dialogue. After running the gauntlet of his Metal Gear franchise and Death Stranding, I'm officially a convert into his off-the-wall concepts and can't wait to see what he does with new hardware. Number 12, Cyberpunk 2077. Though it's projected to release December 10th, I'll wait until the game is in my hands before CD Projekt Red burns us again. Despite their mismanagement of the project and mainstream marketing creating an off-putting circle jerk of overhype, I remain highly excited for the game. Cyberpunk themes are some of my favorite, and despite open world fatigue, I have great admiration for The Witcher 3's legacy in doing the formula great justice. Even if I'm not riding the hype beast to launch, I'm still thrilled for Cyberpunk 2077. Number 11, Solar Ash. The next project from the creators of Hyper Light Drifter, one of my favorite games of the last decade, has me stoked to see what they have in store for us next. Initial trailers show off a stunning art style and an intriguing narrative concept. Though information is minimal, the greater scope and development pedigree has me amped for Solar Ash. There's no hard line that divides these 10 games as clearly inferior in expectation to the top 10 to come. It's merely that if I could choose 10 games to play on reputation and excitement alone right now, the following would be the 10 I choose. Number 10, Resident Evil Village. I saw my introduction to gaming's most storied horror juggernaut earlier this year. Finally taking the opportunity to play the HD remaster of the original, along with remakes of 2 and 3, I quickly became enamored with the franchise's penchant for suffocating horror, clever puzzles, and heart-stopping action. As we look toward 2021, I'm excited to get a modernized look at the series' direction. Don't worry, I've still got the 4th entry stoutly on my video to-do list, as well as a foray into the more modern 7. That game is a return to form after a rocky 5th and awful 6th entry, if word of mouth is to be believed. The gothic horror direction for Resident Evil Village is a tone I'm all for. A trailer that looks to appeal to both the psychological aspect of horror is both terrifying and intriguing. But Chris Redfield looks like a mountain ready to take on whatever creepshow awaits in the village, a locale squarely on my hype radar for 2021. Number 9, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Into the Spider-Verse mania made this expansion an easy choice for Sony after Spider-Man's smashing success in 2018. A handful of folks may dismiss it as an incomplete experience in comparison, and it does seem overall playtime will be limited to its predecessor. But by all accounts, the quality throughout the runtime looks spectacular. The new powers look incredible, both graphically and contextually, opening up loads of new gameplay opportunities. Miles taking center stage in the narrative is an appealing shift, and I look forward to where it will steer the future of the franchise. Anyone doubting the value of this standalone title built in the same gameplay engine hasn't played Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which arguably has a claim as one of the best Uncharted games overall. I have high hopes that this will be the same. Number 8, Demon's Souls Remake. With Miles Morales also available on PS4, this remake of the PS3 classic is the single game that tipped my purchasing decision for a day one PS5, if I can get one, that is. Once I finally do, you can count on my usual gambit of Souls-related rankings. I can't wait to get my hands on a fresh Boletaria with a new coat of paint, but I'm even more happy to know so many newcomers will finally get a chance to play the series' origins. I'm a bit wary of some of the changes, particularly related to odd monetization decisions with pre-order bonuses, collector's editions with in-game benefits, and all of that nonsense, but I have no doubt that the core experience will remain one well worth being giddy for. Number 7, Nier Replicant 1.22474487139. Android waifus in a hack-and-slash platinum game. What more do you want? How about a revamped remake of Nier Automata's predecessor? Nier Replicant held a reputation of masterful and unique storytelling, phenomenal music, brilliant characters, but was lacking in gameplay quality. I myself ditched the game a decade ago despite being hooked to the story because the moment-to-moment combat was lackluster. This remake promises to fix that issue by taking nods from Automata's gameplay style, all while running a broad brushstroke of modern across everything else, making giving it another shot a no-brainer. Number 6, Metroid Prime 4. Metroid competes on a razor-thin margin for my favorite Nintendo franchise with the next entry to come. The Metroid Prime trilogy was my introduction to the series, and 2 of its 3 parts are among my favorites. I'm tempering my expectations because I didn't enjoy 3 as much as the first 2, and the game has come close to development hell territory. All we've seen is a teaser trailer 3 years ago that was little more than a title splash. The only news we have to go on since that is the first bit of the game was scrapped in 2019 with the original developers of the Prime trilogy, Retro Studios, swooping in to start from scratch. The lack of information is troubling, but Retro Studios has an excellent track record post-Prime with the Donkey Kong Country games. I remain skeptical, but the potential is there. If they can capture even half the magic the first two had, I'll be in solitary bliss when Prime 4 releases. Number 5, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. That other beloved Nintendo franchise that has done nothing but release knockouts looks to build upon its most recent hit with a darker sequel. I'm hoping they go full Majora's Mask with creative gameplay loops, disturbing themes, while keeping the core of what makes the series special in mind. They created a phenomenal sandbox in the first game. I would love to see them evolve it with more focused design. More emphasis on the quality of tasks instead of the quantity of them. Original dungeons returning would also be appreciated, as would be some of the classic items that were sorely missed, like the hookshot. Even if I don't get my vision for the game, I have no doubt I'll love whatever Nintendo comes up with. Number 4, Horizon Forbidden West. Of the two grand adventures released close together back in 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn was my personal favorite. The Frozen Wilds DLC even fixed my few complaints with the game in a way that showed astronomical promise for the future, like better lip syncing and better use of supporting characters. It's easy to forgive when Aloy was the central focus and became one of my favorite gaming protagonists of the previous generation. The combat was top-notch with wonderful creativity, fighting robot wildlife made for some fantastic enemy variety, and the open-world exploration was compelling, though relying on well-tread tropes I hope to see Guerrilla push the envelope on in Forbidden West. My one disappointment that suggests this won't be fully realized is the decision to handicap the game to be PS4 compatible. Hampering the title's capabilities with outdated hardware is less than ideal, but I have little doubt that this adventure will be an early favorite from the budding generation. Number 3, Hollow Knight Silksong. A smashing cult hit that only grew in reverence as the years went on, Hollow Knight is not only one of my favorite games of the last generation, its quality made a lasting impression that has me practically begging to get my hands on the sequel. Especially in the shoes of the enigmatic Hornet that promises different gameplay mechanics, a new rich world to explore, and more of the brilliant combat and bosses to enjoy. It appears to be the perfect balance in everything fans could hope for. More of the same in everything Hollow Knight nailed, but mild differences in the gameplay loop, a new narrative to sink your teeth into, and a fresh world to explore. The lack of release date expectancy may have some losing patience, but I'm left with nothing but confidence we're in for a treat when the game's finally done in the oven. Number 2, Elden Ring. If there's any game that has an alarming number of fans shouting into a non-existent release date void, it's FromSoft's mysterious new project. I suppose new is generous since it's been a year and a half since we've heard anything other than it exists, but the limited tidbits we do get suggest the development cycle is taking time due to astronomical ambition. Miyazaki's legendary direction, George R. R. Martin throwing expertise into world building, Yuka Kitamura in for music, there are a few dream teams I can expect more from with minimal information. Open world fatigue with Ubisoft towers, quantity over quality world activities, mundane gameplay loops, and more have begun to wear me down. The promise of FromSoft pushing a new frontier for open world games is a thrilling proposition. Expanded development scope, dark fantasy combat not bound to the rules of Dark Souls, and next-gen graphics I hope at least rival Demon's Souls Remake adds even more spice to a potential banger millions are anxiously awaiting more info on. If I were a betting man, I'd call for a spring 2022 release date. Fortunately, today's list has you covered with plenty to play until then, including my most anticipated game of the next generation, God of War Ragnarok. The more I reflect on my best games of the decade, the more I wonder if I would shift the top 3 around to make God of War 2018 my number 1 pick. God of War to God of War 2 back on the PS2 was a significant jump for the formula. If this new series can follow suit, my game of the generation may come as early as 2021. The tracking camera, excellent over-the-shoulder combat, killer soundtrack, masterful writing, brilliant characters, delightful mythology, superb direction, great boss and enemy design, enjoyable puzzle sequences, and thoughtful world design were all among the best of the previous generation. With a prototype of God of War's new format under their development belt, I'm hopeful that Ragnarok may herald the game of the decade as early as 2021. But of course, that's just my opinion. What games on the horizon have you most excited for the next decade of gaming? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to stay tuned for content surrounding many of today's games like Demon's Souls Remake and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. Until then, I want to thank you for watching today, much love to you, and I'll see you in the next video.